Free agency has been going on for about a week, and we're pretty much at a standstill. Kevin Durant's market is big, but it's not flexible, so I don't anticipate him being moved anytime soon. Kyrie's movement is probably directly dependent on when/if KD gets moved, so I don't think that's happening anytime soon either, and everybody else pretty much falls in place. So roster-wise, this is where we are. As their teams currently stand, I want to talk about some of the stars that aren't in the most favorable positions. Whether that's because of their own contract situations, the stage of their career not being on par with their team's ability to compete right now, or in one player's extremely rare case, players that kind of have a mixture of both. Today's video is sponsored by Aura. We use the internet all the time, and it can be extremely dangerous. In 2020, 48 million Americans were victims of identity theft, and it ended up costing them a combined $56 billion. This isn't just happening to people that fall for scams or use bad passwords. 37 billion records got hacked in 2020 alone, from major social media sites, national grocery store chains, cryptocurrency exchanges, pharmacies, and phone and internet providers. That means unless you completely cut out the internet, your information leaking is completely out of your control. Aura's app uses AI and machine learning to protect your identity online. You tell them what email address, account numbers, phone numbers you want monitored, and their algorithms scour the dark web, data brokers, and public records to put you on alert with any criminal activity ASAP. Also, Aura's app uses a VPN, encrypting your browsing history, allowing you to stay anonymous online. And their antivirus software blocks malware and viruses way before they infect your devices. Protecting your personal data doesn't have to be hard. Just let Aura do all the hard work. Try 14 days free with my personal link at aura.com/swish, or just click the link in my description. Big shout out to Aura for sponsoring this video.
How do you see those three working together? How do you see Russ fitting? And I guess more, you do see him here, I guess, based on the way you're talking.
Absolutely. I mean, just our running habits. And Russell, don't get it messed up. Russ is one of the best players our league has ever seen, and there's still a ton left in that tank. I don't know why people tend to try to write him off. I'm going to approach him like I do every player I've ever encountered. We're going to talk about our running habits with the ball, without the ball, and again, the team, the rhythm of the team, and trying to establish a rhythm with LeBron, Russ, AD, and again, share the load.
Let's start with the player that can possibly be in the worst situation of all of them given his age, LeBron James. Now, I started these situation videos about 3 years ago, and something I learned while doing it, these situations are subjected to change very quickly. LeBron can be in a terrible situation right now on paper, but we know why and how that can change literally any day now. As currently constructed, the Lakers are just not in a position to contend right now with how their roster is so flawedly built. Last year we seen it, it was no secret. LeBron was on the most embarrassing team of his career by far to me. Most of his greatness for the last 19 years stems from his ability to elevate teams past their talents. Last year, he wasn't able to do that, and you shouldn't expect him to in year 1920. Rob Pelinka, the GM, but definitely with LeBron's blessing, signed off on a rush trade that completely depleted their cap, and the Lakers as a whole, but specifically LeBron, is paying for it right now. Next year, the most undesired player in the league. I'm sorry, I don't feel like it's any player that a team would rather have less than Russell Westbrook, especially at that price. The most undesired player in the league is the highest paid player on their team. Russ being on that team is just like this big ass grenade. Like, he doesn't fit style wise. I believe he hinders the flow of LeBron and AD as a natural superstar duo, and also he destroys the flexibility of the roster. For a legend like LeBron, who's trying to continue to patent that stacked ass resume, Russ being on that team just doesn't mix in that equation. And if he's on that team next year, the highlight of their team will be LeBron passing Kareem. Next, and don't get it twisted, he is a legend in his own very unique way, Russell Westbrook. At the stage he's at in his career right now, it just seems like it's coming to a very tragic ending. Like, he's already been on 4 teams in the last 4 years, possibly 5 if they can't pull this off. No MVP has ever been through that. He's too egotistical to buy into his real value, and that makes it like 1,000 times worse. And like I said, he's the most undesired player in this league, especially with this big aura and delusional presence that he brings. Last year, I believe he struggled so much because it was just so new. He was finally on a team where the game plan and the outcome of the game wasn't solely predicated on Russ's box score. They already had LeBron, they already had AD, they already won an NBA championship, so they didn't need Russ to come in doing the stuff he did in the past with way less talent. And I don't think he ever quite understood that, but to be fair, how could he? You can't completely gut your roster for one player, mind you, one of the most proud players in the league. Russ wears his resume on his sleeve at all times. You can't trade that and do all that and not expect that player to almost delusionally come in believing, oh, they need me to do X, Y, and Z. That's why they traded their entire team for me, especially Russ. Then you pump his head up from the start with these vague ass, meaningless ass statements like, let Russ be Russ, let Russ be Russ. What does that even mean? In order for that to happen, LeBron, you have to be Andre Roberson, and AD, you got to turn into Enes Kanter, and y'all not doing that, so that never meant anything. Next year, regardless of where he's at, he's unwanted, and that's just the reality of it. If he's with the Lakers, they don't really want him, they just have to keep him. If he goes to the Spurs, that's literally just a salary dump. If he goes to the Nets, which I don't see, they don't want Russell Westbrook. Wherever he goes, they don't really want him, they just have to accept him. Ben Simmons is in a bad situation. If you look at how his team and his stars specifically, they're teetering and they don't want to really be there. But his is all self-inflicted, so I don't feel sorry for him at all. KD and Kyrie clearly one side of Brooklyn, which clearly shows you how they feel about Ben Simmons, and that's kind of an indictment to Ben Simmons. I promise you, if, say, Devin Booker was on that team instead of Ben Simmons, no way they would request a damn trade. Like, that would literally be them running from their best chance at winning a championship, which they might be doing right now already, but clearly they don't feel that way about Ben. Understandably so. I mean, Ben's already shown he's spoiled. He's already shown he lacks reliability. He's already shown he's not the best teammate. So for a player like Kevin Durant, it's no way I want to be surrounded by the 2 most unpredictable, unreliable players this league has to offer. It's no way. Ben took unprofessionalism to a whole nother level and forced his way off a team that was patient with him from the start, already had a superstar big there, and built their team around his deficiencies. Now, it's like he's awkwardly sitting in Brooklyn where it seems like it's a complete mess. The coach is extremely inexperienced and heavily relying on KD. The 2 stars act like they don't even really want to play with you, and you just sitting there in the middle and you don't even know who your teammates is going to be. Who knows? It might be good for him since he don't like expectations, but if he wants to win, going from the #1 seed to this mess, I would think it's a bad situation. Who knows? Next, well, might as well stay on the topic. Kevin Durant. Last week, we were all excited about this Kevin Durant trade request news. It was exciting. It was a great way to open up free agency, all this. But then I think we all come to realize, bro, what team that truly wants to contend with KD actually has the roster flexibility to trade for KD and still contend with him? If you lose all your good pieces, what's the point? First of all, with Ben Simmons being on the Nets, Brooklyn, they can't even receive most of the stars they're seeking because of that rookie extension rule. You can't have 2 players acquired via trade that were signed to a rookie extension with their original teams, meaning they literally can't get back like 80% of the young stars they want because they just extended. Look at the list, bro. Like, they can't get the players they want. This is why they proposed that idiotic trade to Minnesota. This is why the momentum really kind of died a little bit because they're stuck. What does this mean for KD? Bro, it's a good chance he can play in Brooklyn next year. I don't care how good he is. No team is trading all their young pieces and assets for a 34-year-old. Not to mention, KD, I mean, he's not LeBron. Like, he has a significant injury history. He missed a significant amount of time last year. LeBron at 33, after just playing in 7 straight NBA Finals, played 82 games plus an additional 22 where he dragged a team to the NBA Finals. Kevin Durant at 33 missed 27 games and had a first-round sweep. It's levels to it. My point is, it's not guaranteed that Kevin Durant is going to last as long as LeBron or play as long as LeBron. I know we don't talk about it because his skills haven't declined in the slightest, but KD in the last 8 years has only played 70 games plus 1 time, and that was with Golden State taking off a lot of the load off him. He only played 65 games plus 3 times. LeBron at that age had never not played 65 games plus. So like I said, we just don't know. KD's value talent-wise right now, oh my, it's through the roof. It's the highest ever from a free agent or a player that requested a trade ever. It is. But longevity-wise, I'm not giving up all my picks and all my young assets and all my young, talented, thriving players for that uncertainty. Hell nah. And lastly, Colin Sexton. Colin Sexton is a player that I don't really hear people talking about right now, but damn, bro, I feel sorry for him. Even though I've heard Cavs fans say all the time how much the duo of Darius Garland and Colin Sexton could work and they should keep both, I knew Cleveland eventually would come to this dilemma, and honestly, I'm right with Cleveland. I'm on their side. I know they're both talented in their own individual ways, but after seeing John Wall and Bradley Beal not really work out, Dame and CJ not really work out, there's no way in hell I'm paying an even smaller backcourt close to $400 million after I just seen how good we can possibly be without one of them. No way. Remember, once you pay these players those crazy max contracts that we're seeing nowadays, that's going to limit how much you can fill out the rest of your roster. The Cavs were so deep this year because they didn't pay anybody. Darius Garland was making $7 million. Kevin Love was the highest paid player on their team. Jarrett Allen with $20 million annually was one of the highest paid players on their team. You're not going to be able to do that if you have Colin Sexton and Darius on crazy extensions. Darius has a much higher ceiling in this league long term for me. I mean, he's just as good of a shot creator. He's literally just as good of a shooter, and he's a much better playmaker. Plus, Colin just tore his meniscus. So the decision on who they was going to keep, I mean, that was evident. Now, unfortunately, especially with that torn meniscus, Colin's options are very, very limited. If he really wants his money, which I'm hoping he gets, man, I always like Colin Sexton, even back at Bama, he can either go back to Cleveland on a prove-it deal, which I think will be best for the familiarity of the roster and the chemistry in the team and all that, or join another team and risk that not working out, which could be career devastating financially. Historically, look at star players or players of relevance who got injured and tried to go to another team on a more friendly deal, and look what it resulted in. They typically lost the biggest payday of their lives. Isaiah Thomas, DeMarcus Cousins, I mean, it happens. So I'm not saying that will happen to Colin, but if you do go to a new team, your role will be different, which could affect your numbers, which ultimately affects your pockets. So I hope he gets his money, but he'll probably be best staying in Cleveland. If you guys like this video, make sure you like this video. Obviously, I could have put Dame and Bradley Beal on this list, 2 players that are always on this list. But Bradley Beal just got $251 million. Dame is paid. They don't want to leave, but they complacent. They happy as hell. I don't blame them. I'm not putting them on that list, bro. They're happy. If you like it, I love it. Like this video if you like this video. Follow my social media sites. Do that great stuff, guys. Until next time, as always, stay tuned.